Howdy of you delicious people. I'm here today to review Wayne, episodes 7 and 8. So, of course, we've kind of slowed down a little bit with this story. We've kind of gone on and approached this to have it be that we kind of have for each episode, we just kind of have one mission, and that mission is to just kind of stretch this story. Uh, but really, this show isn't as enjoyable as it started out to be. But really, I can still come up with some ways to have a little bit of fun of this one. So let's go out of our way to say that it's really just what are these episodes about? So, without a doubt, we of course have in episode 7 us really getting a pretty decent payout in episode 7 that is to go on and just fade away within episode 8. In episode 7, we of course have Dell, who goes on and makes Cape Cod coolies, which I will eventually explain what the heck that means. But luckily, I'm just going on and telling you this now so I don't forget exactly what that name of that thing is when I get to it. So in episode 7, if I because Cape Cod Coolies are in episode 7, we go on and we have really just the whole thing about episode 7 is really just being Bobby in the hospital. Whereas episode 8, we go on and have Wayne go on and find this golden Trans Am and is to go on and re-meet up with his biological mother, and things ensue via that episode, and we'll go into the more specifics about that. So yeah, really it seems that there's quite a bit of time here where we just have us having to use certain characters to now stretch the show. Whereas before, like, it feels like you could use these characters sparingly. Now all of a sudden it feels like you actually need these side characters doing these little side missions so that way they can go on and have like, oh no, oh great, we can only have X amount of time to kind of focus on this little thing. Um, and certain even side mission to characters are having a little bit more time in the sun with their kind of vacation and so on and so forth. So, with that said, we just have a lot of guys who are all going and doing the exact same thing, which is just a road trip. And we can obviously tell that between the sergeant, between Tom Cole, and between Wayne. And then Bobby's also technically on a road trip also, but we just kind of see him very scarcely. We see more of his twins than we actually do of Bobby. So let's go on our way to just say that it's about that customary time yet again to just go into spoilers, because I think really anything else that I'm going to say about this show will just be giving the other episodes away. So with that said, let's go into that double five time territory, because it's about that time yet again to go into this thing called spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time again to spoil this episode. So very beginning of the episode, like, the thing that I like about this episode is its transition from the last episode. That's the thing that I can really enjoy, and it's a stupid thing. I get it, that it's like, oh, you just like these. It's nice. Like, honestly, like, why do you even need a recap when you can go on and just have these like smooth transitions of like, oh yeah, I remember where we were in the last episode. um because I don't need to just go on and like, what happened in the tail end, because I want to make sure, because there's sometimes where you do have it where it's like Dexter, if you guys are watching the Dexter show ever, where they go on and they show you the whole like recapping thing. But like I don't know, I just like to just feel that I can remember the last episode by watching the current one. But it is what it is. So, because they tend to go back to things on certain shows. Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze there. Anyways, so false alarm. It was a yawn, almost sneeze. Anyways, so we go on to this episode, and we of course have it where Wayne and Del and Jenny and Trish are. I say that with like a question mark over my mind, just like not quite sure. So we go in and have these characters who are coming back from this dance, and so we of course have we have Jenny telling Del and Wayne like, "Hey, you guys can kind of knock boots because like my parents aren't exactly home, and plus more than likely Jenny and Trish are gonna be doing a lot more uh, sound making than probably Del and Wayne will be doing anyways." So we go on hand, of course, have Del, who is to, of course, be sleeping in this tub because I guess Jen and Trish were to make far too much noise. So we, of course, have Wayne the night before, who is to be so possibly bruised or beaten and whatever. And so we, of course, have Jen, who is to give Wayne, I'm assuming, this painkiller. And so all of a sudden, the very next day, Wayne is to seemingly wake up and he is high as fuck. So we go and we have Wayne, who is just kind of like, "Hey, Del, how's it going, Del?" And he's just kind of really different than his normal self is. And so Del's like, "Oh my god, you're high, aren't you?" And Wayne's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." So all of a sudden we have Jenny and Trish meeting up with Del and Wayne, and so all of a sudden we have Jenny's father who is coming home, and so all of a sudden we have Jenny's father barging into this room to find both Jenny and Wayne there, and so Jenny's father is so happy that there's to be seemingly a man in Jenny's life, and Wayne is to turn around and out Jenny as being a woman that likes women. And so Jenny's father is just to walk off, and Jenny's looking at Wayne and like, "Did you just out me in front of my dad?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, I guess so." So we go on and we have both Wayne and Del leave because I'm sure they've made things as uncomfortable as they can here. So we go on and we of course have Wayne and Del who are going to this one gas station, convenience store, combination of all of them. So we go on and we have Del who is getting the bare essentials. Yeah, the bare essentials. Like, you guys remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze, where I think Mikey was going on and saying that the bare essentials were like potato chips because the guys are like, "Hey, we should like, we told you guys to go and get the bare essentials," and Mikey's like, "Yeah, the bare essentials," and then like the potato chips and whatever. So goofy reference, and then I had to explain it. So we go on, and we of course have uh Del, who's getting this like big thing of like candy licorice like stuff that is to be like the size of my arm, and because it's like wrapping all around and whatever, and it's like the size of my arm. So you would have thought at some point like this girl would have like accidentally like put this inside this wheel, and then they would have caused an accident or something. You would have thought something would have horribly went wrong, but I guess luckily it didn't. So we go on, and Wayne is getting like orange juice and pretzels because probably Wayne has a weird uh, way of wanting to just get things. So we go on here and, of course, have Wayne as Dell is going off, seeing a thing on the news about Bobby supposedly beaten up and supposedly near death or going to die or already dead. So Wayne is to go on and buy this licorice to think that he can cheer Dell up because he's going to deliver her bad news. Because, of course, since Wayne is to always try to do the right thing with Dell. So we go on and have Wayne just get on this motorcycle, and then Dell is to go on and get on this motorcycle. And then Wayne starts going on to it, and then he stops, and she's like, well, I guess that's what happens when you only put $2 into the bike. So Wayne is to explain to Dell that her father's in the hospital and that she should probably go and see him because Wayne got to say goodbye to his father, and so maybe Dell should try to go and do the same thing, especially if Bobby is to maybe be on his deathbed. So we have at first where Dell is thinking, well, F him. Then he's like, but then she's like, okay, like we might as well just go and just see him. So they go on and see, or they go on to go to this hospital. And so, of course, Wayne is very hesitant about wanting to go into this hospital because, like, hey, there's guys that die in there. And Dell's like, well, isn't that the point? Like, people get sick and they die. So Wayne is like, I'm not going in there. So we go on and we have Dell, who is to make her way into this hospital, all while Wayne is now having to forcibly hear the woes of a 19-year-old that has knocked some woman up. It's like, well, that's your fault there, buddy. Like, you could have put freaking a rubber on. You could have gone on and said, like, no, I just don't think that we should probably do this. Or really, you could have just pushed and prayed a lot harder. Come on, just push and pray. Fuck. You know what, Bradley? Come on, Bradley. Come on. So, just push and pray, Bradley. Push and pray. Come on. Get that after pill. Come on. No. So, Bradley is going on and telling, of course, Wayne that he's like, oh my god, my life is over. Like, I wanted to have cocaine and I wanted to do all these things and now my life is over. Oh no. So we have Bradley who is going on and giving Wayne cookies because his life is over. And so we go on here and we have Bradley going and thinking about, like, man, whoever has that motorcycle over there is really cool, as that's Wayne's motorcycle. And so Bradley is like, oh man, there's a bus right there. Wouldn't it just be easy for me to just go and just get away from it all and go onto this bus? And so Wayne is going on and saying, it's like, well, yeah, my mom left me and my dad, and like my dad stayed. So maybe you could be like my dad and frickin' just stay with this kid. So we have Bradley kind of having this temptation of running off and running wild and whatever. So we go on and we of course have Dell, who goes into the hospital and is at some point realizing that her father is still alive, but he of course is yelling at some nurse because he is to go on and ask for alcohol and they won't serve him that here. It's a freaking hospital. So we of course have the nurse that's saying that that Bobby's an alcoholic, and he turns to his kid is like, how am I alcoholic? And they're like, well, hey, like, we just told him that you like 8 drinks every single day. And Bobby's just like, God, you freaking twins. So we go on and we have it where the sergeant and Officer J are going and meeting up with Bobby uh, because of what had happened at this whole dance. And so we have it to where Bobby is again blaming Sergeant and Officer J for having Bobby to take matters into his own hands to go and find Wayne, because it seems like these guys are both doing a really crack job trying to get to Wayne here. So we go on and we have the sergeant, we have Jay who goes on and leaves, and we of course have them go on and find this soup, and also have Jay who's trying on, I believe, these socks, and he's saying how like great they are and whatever. Like, okay, this is so weird. So we go on and we have Dell who is deciding to not go in there quite yet until she is to give her father some kind of alcohol or kind of sneak it in. So Dell goes back out to all of a sudden meet with Bradley and back with Wayne. And so Dell is to ask if this guy is old enough or if he has a fake ID for them to go and get alcohol. So Bradley's like, yeah, like I have an ID that says that I'm 40 pounds heavier and this and that. So we go on and we have Wayne going and getting Dell alcohol for her to make Cape Cod Coolies, that I guess was some weird goofy drink that eventually Dell made for her father at some point. And so I guess since he liked it, Dell kept making it. So we go on and we have Dell who is to make this drink and bring it in to her father, and Wayne is going on and going to follow her because of course Wayne is to decide that like it's best if he goes with her this time around. Dell is saying, hey, like you're not going to get a gold medal if you go in there, and Wayne's like, I don't care. So we go in here and we have these two characters who all of a sudden are making it into the morgue because they're trying to sneak around because of course they see Officer J and the sergeant. So we go on, we have them in the morgue, and all of a sudden they're underneath this dead body as they go on and ask if these guys are dead or not, and they are. So we go on, and we all of a sudden have these two officers that are going on and punching some dead body, thinking that it's some person that had killed their partner, but I guess it was the wrong guy. All of a sudden, we have both Dell and Wayne kissing here multiple times. Like, I'm thinking it's like 30 times. Yeah, because they just 30 times kissed. Sure, they did. So, finally, we have this good payoff of like, okay, so it seems like we're like cementing this relationship, that it just seems like they're not just like friends now, and like it seems like they're still in the, but even when we get this like kissing scene, like it doesn't feel like we've really cemented this relationship. And then once we get to episode 8, they tear that back apart. So I'm like, son of a bitch. It took us 8 episodes to really cement this relationship, even though technically it was already cemented. Barely. But still, like, man, come on. Really? So, we go on and we have Dell who makes it in to see her dad. And so immediately Bobby's asking Dell if she's going to come home. And then all of a sudden Wayne walks in, and so Bobby just starts to turn into a barbarian again. It's like, Wayne, ah! I'm hulking out. And then Dell and Wayne just scramble off because all of a sudden the sergeant and Officer J are to spot them, and so they're running off. So we of course desperately have it where Bobby at some point is trying to get to this drink, and he goes on and is to drop this drink to have some girl go and pick it up to help him drink this drink so he can have some alcohol in him. So we have Wayne and we have Dell running off to have the sergeant going on and saying like, hey, like I'm not really an officer here, and plus there is a time where I thought that I could go on and convince you or tell you something here, but it seems like that time is gone, and that this guy doesn't know what to really say. But we of course have it to where all of a sudden this MRI machine is weirdly getting turned on for whatever goofy reason. Maybe it's maybe because this machine thinks that one of these people are hot. I don't know. But anyways, so it gets me all hot and bothered, you know? Anyways, that was a stupid joke. So eventually we have it where the sergeant is whipping out his gun for this MRI machine just to like magnetically like take the gun. And so Wayne is going and pulling out his hammer from out of his pocket, and he is to take this hammer, and the hammer smacks freaking against the sergeant here, and is to fall onto this MRI. So both Wayne and Dell make their way off to get out of this hospital, and so the sergeant and Officer Wayne or Officer J are going on to chase after Wayne, and we end up seeing a guy that is to have Wayne's jacket and hoodie, and we go on and notice that this is actually Bradley, and he's trying to help these guys escape. So we go on, and I'm assuming both Wayne and Dell are to escape here by foot. So we go on in the next episode and see them kind of bizarrely in some truck driving further into where they're supposed to go to find this Trans Am. So we also have Tom Cole and Orlando getting Tom to be desperate to want to go and find food. And so all of a sudden Orlando is to mention that the only place that is to really be able to have food right now is to be a strip club. So Tom and Orlando go to the strip club all of a sudden to have Orlando say that he's Crystal's son, and so the guy believes him. And so we have Tom who says to Orlando, "How is it that you knew there was a Crystal that worked here?" And Orlando's like, "Well, there's always a Crystal that works here." So we go on and have Tom, who's now eating, I guess, ribs, it looks like. And so whoops. So we go on, and all of a sudden we have Crystal who's saying that there was an obscene amount of money that was charged to her, and so she wants to figure out who this Orlando kid is, and that I guess Orlando had went to the champagne room. I'm like, man, this guy's really really trying to con his way into a number of things. So now it seems that Tom was forced to have to pay for every single thing that Orlando had did, and it seems that Tom is to tell Orlando, "Hey, that wasn't cheap. I don't have that kind of quiche." So we go on and have it where Tom and Orlando are kind of talking about the scene and talking about what happened, and so they're going to go on to their next location. So I hopefully had talked about everything about episode 7, because I think that's all really I need to say about episode 7 in all actuality. Yeah. So episode 8. Let's go into episode 8. So we go on further into episode 8, because I feel like I've got him to sneeze again. Yeah. Excuse me. So we go on into episode 8, and this time around, the main goal is for us to really just have Wayne go and find this Trans Am, and then that Trans Am is to go and find his bio mom, which of course is a girl called uh, Maureen. Marine, with her step husband called Calvin, which kind of weird because we have, of course, in this show we have like Calvin's character who's like fully head shaved, is a big thick mustache, and in this picture, of course, or in most of the times that I've seen this guy, he has like full head of hair or whatever. Like we've kind of drastically changed this character quite a bit. But anyways, so in episode 8, we go on to another gas station where we have Wayne wanting to figure, both Dell and Wayne trying to figure out how exactly they're going to be able to get to where they need to go, but they're so close to making their way to where uh, Wayne's bio mom is, so they probably figure they can just kind of thumb it all the way there, really. So all of a sudden, we have at this gas station where we have Reggie who shows up and is to cause an annoyance for this guy who is to notice that Reggie isn't really paying for any of his stuff, or it seems like he normally does not pay for his things. So all of a sudden, Wayne is going off with Dell, and here's the goofy thing. So Wayne is to obviously know he does not like coffee, but Dell is to go on and ask, like, hey, do you want a cup of coffee? And he drinks it, and he spits it out. I'm like, how is it that this kid just doesn't know that he doesn't like coffee? What's going to make him drastically change his opinion about it? Like, I know for me, like, I would try, like, things of coffee, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like, if anything, I just don't like coffee just because, really, I don't like hot, like, beverages. Like, I would much rather have a cold beverage than whatever. Like, I'd rather have a thing of beer. I'd rather have a thing of, like, a soda or a pop or a cola or whatever. I'd rather have that. Like, I would rather have, like, a really cold drink of water instead of going on and having a thing of hot coffee. It just like I even am to be during the winter time and I don't have things like cocoa or stuff like that. I'm like, why? No. I don't like cold. I don't like hot beverages. It just doesn't make any rational sense to me. Um, I like all cold beverages. Anyways, pushing on. It's enjoyable. So we go on and we have Wayne who spits this hot coffee all over Reggie's car. Now, Reggie is to go on and intimidate Wayne into cleaning this up. And so after Wayne does so, Reggie's like, okay, well, you're lucky. So, and he says some goofy thing about ice melting or something. I don't quite get what that means. So, we all of a sudden have Reggie drive off, and so Wayne is to immediately know that that is his father's car. And so Dell's like, well, hey, why did you let them just drive off? And Wayne's like, I don't know. So we all of a sudden have Wayne that's going on here, and I guess getting the address of Reggie from this guy. So that's in the convenience store. So we go on and have both Wayne and we have Dell who finds this location, this address, and it's basically knock at the door to all of a sudden have it be that Wayne is going to go on and meet up with his bio mom, Maureen. So here's the thing. How does Maureen know this is Wayne by him just saying so? It just feels like Maureen doesn't have more recent pictures of Wayne, so how can she justify this being Wayne? I guess because the story would probably seem convincing enough. I don't know. So we go on and we just have Maureen who welcomes Wayne into this house, as well as Dell. And Dell is not exactly sold upon this family. It seems like Wayne is just going and just easily having Maureen tell stories and stuff that she can remember, and going and getting pictures of Wayne when he was a really young kid. And even when he was a young kid, he got a shiner, I guess, from accidentally smacking himself with a hammer when he where he went and went on and I guess hit his hammer with the ball peen hammer with the tire. So the hammer hit the tire. The hammer bounced back and hit, of course, Wayne in the eye. We go on and say that the main reason why Wayne is to like that hammer is because technically it had both the name of his father and him on it, and I guess that's the main attraction, I guess, weirdly. So we go on and we just have it where I guess since Maureen has realized that Wayne doesn't have much clothes, Maureen wants to go on and just take Wayne shopping to go and give him some kind of fashion sense, which doesn't make real sense. Um, but I think really just Maureen here is just trying to make up for lost time. We of course have Reggie and we have really Maureen's uh, husband, who is of course not exactly warming up to Wayne, or we have it to where at some point when we of course have Reggie and Calvin talking to Wayne by himself. They go on and they say, "Yeah, uh, like Calvin is to just boast about how he is to basically take this car from Wayne Senior because he didn't know how to handle her and stuff like that." And so they're going on and telling us how complex this car is and it needs to be cooled down and all this stuff and yada yada yada. So we go on and of course we have who we go on we have Wayne who is to be taken shopping by Maureen. And speaking of shopping, we of course have Dell who's with them, and she goes on and shoplifts, going on and getting some beard balm thing that makes no sense because nobody. Wayne doesn't have a beard, Dell doesn't have a beard, but we just have it to where I think Maureen just wanted to just shoplift because that's what she's technically been doing for the longest time, anyways. And if she is to, of course, get caught here, we have Maureen who goes on and figures out some way for Dell to not get arrested here or booked or whatever. And we have them just give back the product, and the guy's like, okay, I won't do anything right now. Like I won't say anything right now. So we go on and we have Dell who kind of gets it off the hook. So we go on and we go back here, and so now we just have it where, of course, uh, here's where both Wayne and Dell are to start to have a rift here, where Dell is not really sold about this family, but it seems that Wayne is easily sold with this family, thinking that this could actually just become his family. Yeah, like the dad and the son may need some working, but it seems that this mom is to easily welcome Wayne with open arms to this family. So seems all good and well. So we go on and we have Dell who's like, well, what about my family? Like, aren't we gonna get back to my family at some point? And so, like, I think Dell either way, like, I don't think he'd be accepted in either one of these families. So it seems that if Wayne is to go back to Bobby, Bobby's just gonna beat the shit out of him and kill him probably. So, and we kind of have it where like Reggie and his father is kind of really tempted to just kill Wayne, so it's one less mouth to feed. So we go on here, and of course we have it where uh, Dell and Wayne are to really just tell the truth to one another. Wayne had noticed that uh, that Dell had a ticket for her to go back home. If something was to go on, she would have that ticket to go back home. And Dell is like, well, yeah, because I wasn't sure about us. Like, I wasn't sure, uh, like, what was going to happen here. And so she wanted that as, like, a backup plan just in case. So Wayne is going on and telling Dell, it's like, well, yeah, I guess you should have, like, you should just go back to your family then, so that way I can stay in my family. So we go on and we just have it toward Dell is just walking off, and Wayne is staying at this place because really, I guess this wasn't really meant for them to be forever. And so, uh, like, I want to make sure that I kind of have covered everything, and I feel like I have. Because I think that's really just the tail end of this episode. So, um, so yeah, that's the meat and potatoes of this episode. Really 60 minutes boiled down to almost 40 because yeah, there's very few things here to really go into, or there's not much dialogue that I want to go thoroughly into. But yeah, I think that's really it for these episodes because we don't really have the sergeant or we don't have Officer J who is in much of or at all in episode 8. So that's it. I think I'm going to get out of here. So goodbye everybody. If there is anything that I probably forget about, I'm sure there's a rebuttal coming in the next week or the next week. The next time I do this, and more than likely, if the next time I do this, this probably will be the last time that I go on and talk about Wayne. So I would just recommend people going on and finding some other series, some other show that you know you may like, or really just go on and just see what else I have for this channel. If for whatever reason you just really just subscribe to this channel because of Wayne, then I don't know if there's ever going to be a second season, or I don't know if at the end of the day you could find a way to enjoy other things besides Wayne. So there it is for you. So with that said, I think I'm going to get out of here so that we can go on and go to this thing called sleep. Because obviously, if you can tell if I'm yawning, this was way past where I should have actually gone on to do a video. But you know, like I like to try to get a certain number of things out. So this is another one of those. So I'm going to get out of here. Bye, buddy. Bye, buddy.